Good morning, everyone. We're going to get started now. Thank you for attending today's announcement. My name is Adrienne Pon. I'm Executive Director of the Office of Civic Engagement and Immigrant Affairs. Let me first start by introducing the other partners for today's initiative launch. First of all, the San Francisco Foundation, Dr. Sandra Hernandez and Tessa Rovero Callejo. The Asian Pacific Fund with the CEO, Audrey Yamamoto. The Evelyn and Walter Haas Jr. Fund, Kathy Cha, Senior Program Officer for Immigrant Rights and Integration. Walter and Elise Haas Fund, also known as the Haas Senior Fund, Pam David. The Wallace Alexander Gerbode Foundation, Stacy Ma and Thomas Layton. And Grantmakers Concerned with Immigrants and Refugees, represented today by Felicia Bartow, Deputy Director. Also present today are Commissioner Celine Canali, Vice Chair of the San Francisco Immigrant Rights Commission, City Librarian Luis Herrera. The San Francisco Public Library will be hosting the website for this initiative, and Clementine Nakolov of the African Advocacy Network. So let me provide, first of all, just a little bit of background on the initiative. In 2008, while serving as city administrator, Mayor Ed Lee created the Office of Civic Engagement and Immigrant Affairs, one of the first such offices in the nation. The intention was to better communicate with and engage our city residents while providing opportunities for meaningful participation, and particularly for underserved and vulnerable communities. In 2009, the city had the pleasure of collaborating with business, community, and philanthropic partners for the 2010 decennial census count. We learned a lot about applying relevant, streetwise, street-smart approaches to outreach and supporting community stewardship. This successful outreach effort and ongoing relationship evolved into a new model of engagement and collaboration. Last year, under the leadership of Mayor Ed Lee and Dr. Sandra Hernandez of the San Francisco Foundation, planning began on a citywide citizenship initiative. A total of 5 philanthropic foundations, a national grantmakers organization, and trusted community partners are working together with the city on this effort. We will be starting the pilot phase of the initiative after today's announcement. We hope to include more partners as the initiative progresses and into full implementation over the next 3 years. So Mayor Lee will now announce the initiative, and as a longtime civil rights champion and leader, Mayor Lee has infused San Francisco city government with a new sense of inclusive, collaborative leadership, effectiveness, and boundless energy, creative innovation, and energy. So, Mayor Lee.
Well, thank you, Adrienne. Yeah, I don't know about boundless energy, but I do. I am inspired by our immigrant community. We've done so much that I think the city is. Its DNA is really about our diversity. And let me thank Adrienne. She's been a wonderful leader at the Office of Civic Engagement and Immigrant Affairs, leading an effort not just with the Immigrant Rights Commission, but a good, strong relationship with our community-based organizations that do all of the great on-the-ground work with our immigrant families, people who are coming here as refugees, adjusting, people who have come here as permanent residents, people who have come here seeking their future, their hopes for themselves and their families. Also people who often came here by different ways and stayed and maybe overstayed their status, or were escaping from war-torn or impoverished countries and found refuge to come here to San Francisco. We are indeed, and still are, and will continue to be, a sanctuary city for many, many visitors and people who want to be here. Having said that, I am glad to be here this morning with Adrienne and Dr. Hernandez, and also, again, teaming up with Board President and Supervisor David Chiu, who I got a chance to work with very early as we prepared back in 2010 with all the community groups and with the Board of Supervisors. And then I was the city administrator tasked by the mayor and the board with this big challenge of how do we go about the census, knowing that every census in past history, and those brief partial census efforts that go on in between the 10 years always undercounted our folks and people who've been here, all the groups that I just described and the folks that we have tried to serve and knew that they were living sometimes in the shadow, sometimes without a lot of help and support. How do we count them in as residents of this city? And so we began on a very strong outreach program that depended upon service providers, to be quite candid. Not just government agencies, but providers that had sacrificed much of their time in the nonprofit world, surviving on very much on foundational grants, foundational leaders who oftentimes were the only ones that heard the voices that we need help to really identify these folks. Because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have people coming out and telling us what diseases were causing them problems, what was spreading, what were the fears in our immigrant communities that were preventing them from participating, from not getting licenses, not accessing themselves to job opportunities, being perhaps caught up in underground economy. And you know what that leads to oftentimes is many problems that also may have challenges in our criminal justice system as well as our economics. We wanted all of that to change. We've, for many years as kids of immigrants, we've always felt it was our duty to take up what maybe our parents and our friends were not able to out of fear or out of the lack of government action or accountability or even a safety net for people to be able to speak freely in. Taking all of that immigrant life lessons and now placing them in effective, culturally competent programs was our task. And so back in 2010, we tried to do that, and I think we did very well in the census count by bringing forth so many groups to be counted and not to be afraid and not to be experiencing consequences. But the census was only the beginning. We knew that. And in our follow-up conversations with Dr. Hernandez, who helped lead a lot of the community-based efforts, as well as conversations with foundations and grants with people like Annie Chung and others who are community leaders with different ethnicities. And I mean all ethnicities, not just ones that are dominant immigrants in San Francisco like Asians and Latinos, but our African community, our Eastern Europe community, our Middle Eastern communities are all engaged in this effort. And our goal was always, beyond just being counted, how do you participate fully in American society? How do you get to a David Chiu as the supervisor or Ed Lee as the mayor and register your heartfelt viewpoints on how your park should look like, what kind of education level your school should be in, what kind of community safety plans would make you and your family feel safe, what kind of level of health care, which is a big, big challenge for us these days, that you need in order to keep healthy. All of these kinds of issues, including input in the government, we've always wanted to improve. Well, today there is over 100,000 permanent residents in San Francisco who are not fully engaged yet in everything that they could be doing in registering their voice. And so we want to announce today a new initiative. It's the San Francisco Pathways to Citizenship Initiative. Its job, its focus, is to work with all the community-based organizations in a public-private way, work with the foundations who have historically supported these efforts to bring voice and communication to hidden communities and unannounced communities, and to bring them to a path of citizenship, and to talk in culturally competent ways what the benefits of full citizen participation are, and there are many. If you are becoming a citizen, or if you become a citizen, you're going to have a lot more fuller rights. For one thing, you get to vote in San Francisco, you get to vote in America, and that voting right is so precious. And we saw just a month ago, or less than a month ago, how we revisited how valuable that voting rights is and all the sacrifices that heroes of this country had protect that right for everybody. We want everybody to enjoy that because that gets you a voice in all the things that we initially talked about. We want citizens to have a proper, rich orientation and training classes that will be conducted through this initiative with nonpartisan voting, the rights to vote, the right to be educated around every ballot measure that we have, whether it costs you more money or it doesn't cost you anything, or how do we improve muni, whether it costs you more or it doesn't cost you anything. How do we do all of that in a much more involved way? Education, outreach, more engaging new citizens to mentor and help other eligible immigrants navigate the citizenship application process. We think this is our next both challenge but opportunity just beyond the work that we did, which was groundwork to get people counted. And I said earlier, our diversity is not just to be tolerated, it has to be celebrated in every way, and full participation is the goal. I want to thank wonderful, historic, and new funding partners that through their leadership and generosity in this initiative, certainly Sandra Hernandez and the San Francisco Foundation have been longtime partners. She's been so helpful in many other things, and as many of you know, she's helping me on Hope SF, provide housing opportunities for some of our worst dilapidated housing. Now she's also, again, stepped up with additional partners, and I want to just signal to you some of these historic partners that are working with us. The Gerbode Foundation, the Haas Junior and Senior foundations, as well as the Asian Pacific Fund, amongst many other foundations that are assisting us. This is a $1.2 million initiative over the next 3 years, with the city providing about half of the funding and the foundations stepping up with the other half. But the real work is going to be done at the community level. The community organizations that are going to be working with us are numerous, and they reflect all the different ethnicities that I just mentioned. But I wanted to mention a few to give them some special thank you because they're stepping beyond what they've traditionally done and going into the mode of going beyond just the citizenship count and now into services and into this new orientation and training. And that is Self-Help for the Elderly will be one of our lead agencies. Thank you, Annie, again, for leading that effort. You've been a wonderful collaborator with all of us. Asian Law Caucus, the Asian Pacific Islander Legal Outreach, the Catholic Charities CYO, the International Institute of the Bay Area, Jewish Family and Children's Services, La Raza Community Resource Center, as well as the African Advocacy Network, the Arab Resource Organizing Center, MAYAB, which is the Asociación MAYAB, the Southeast Asian Community Center, New America Media, and of course our San Francisco Immigrant Rights Commission. You know, I've often said in many speeches that our immigrant population is important. Well, over a third of our population are immigrants, and we acknowledge that. But I don't just want to say it as an announcement. Everybody knows that. What we want is full participation. We want people to not be afraid or not be meeting as many barriers as they are today from activating themselves in full participation. And I do want to have people of all languages and all heritages telling us how they want our parks to be managed, how they want community safety, how they want transportation to be had. All these things everybody else gets to do, and they weigh in pretty heavily. But I want full participation of that. And until we get so, we'll always feel we're not representing everybody in the city. And so this effort is to get to the additional 100,000 permanent residents, to encourage them to get to the citizenship, enjoy all those benefits. Those benefits are numerous. You're going to be able to situate yourself in better jobs. You're going to get qualified for training programs that are only offered sometimes to citizenships. You're going to obviously, we want to improve your language capabilities so that you're able to navigate these employment training programs and all the other engaging programs that we have. San Francisco is the innovation capital of the world. And in that way, all of the different ethnicities that arrive in San Francisco of all different backgrounds need to be part of this innovation. Because innovation is not about just one particular group of people. It's about everybody participating. And you should hear some of the tech kids that are in the city who want to hear from the Chinese American community, the Southeast Asian American community, the African immigrant community, the Latino immigrant community, the Southeast Asian community, all of them. They want to hear how they can innovate technology with everyone else and how they can improve lives. Technology is there for our use. And one of the big reasons we support it, it's got to improve our lives for everybody. Well, you cannot improve one's life if you're not communicating with people that speak Spanish only, that are in the shadows. This is why we're making this announcement. We're also making a timely announcement, and Adrian is very strategic on this, because we are having a national conversation about immigration. We have to pass comprehensive immigration reform in this country. Senate has done part of it. We have to get this agenda to the rest of Congress, to the House of Representatives, a big, big challenge. The President, our senators, our Leader Pelosi, Senator Feinstein, they're all engaged in that. We have to push very hard. And I think our voices are going to be that much stronger if we add an additional 100,000 people on our way to citizenship, because that's the full circle. And that's why we need immigration reform. We also need to make sure we bring some path of citizenship to all those that are living in the shadows. As we have been a sanctuary city, we need everybody to be full participants, and that's what we're doing today. So again, I want to thank Sandra, I want to thank Annie, I want to thank all the community groups that are standing behind us, people that we'll work with to help us be the successful city that we always feel we are, but we want to get more out of our citizens than just living and enjoying life here. We have to participate in the fullest way, and this is what's going to make our city even more successful. Thank you very much for participating here today.
Thank you, Mayor Lee. You know, we would not get all these things done in San Francisco without the leadership and support of the San Francisco Board of Supervisors. And Supervisor David Chiu is a former criminal prosecutor, civil rights and immigration attorney, technology entrepreneur, Senate Judiciary Aide, and Democratic Counsel. He's done a lot of things in his life. He's also a talented and highly effective leader of the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, where he has served as president since 2009. President Chiu.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. First of all, I want to join the mayor in thanking all the folks behind me who represent the funding community that has so wonderfully stepped up. Thank you, Dr. Sandra Hernandez and your colleagues. I, of course, want to thank all of the amazing nonprofit social service providers and immigrant rights organizations that have been part of the fabric of why I'm so proud of San Francisco as a city that welcomes and protects our immigrant communities. And I also want to take a moment and thank all of you. You're taking pictures of us because I think behind us represents the diversity of our city, but we are looking at you. And if you actually looked among yourselves, this room reflects the diversity of the world. San Francisco, we were built by immigrants. The present of our city is successful because of the vitality of our immigrant community, and we know the future of San Francisco rests with the future of our immigration and immigrant communities. So I want to thank you for being part of this. As Adrian mentioned, in the late 1990s, the first time I ever stepped foot into City Hall was when I was working as an immigrant rights attorney, working on the fact, as many of you know, that our immigrants, our non-citizens, have incredible challenges in becoming citizens. Not only do they have to wade through immigration codes that are many inches thick, they often have to spend a ton of money to hire attorneys as well as to pay for immigration fees. Not only does our federal government have enormous backlogs when it comes to immigration applications, but it's a very daunting process. And this is why, as the mayor said, it is so important that we get immigration reform done. In the mid-1990s, I actually worked for the U.S. Senate the last time they passed a so-called immigration reform bill. That immigration bill was a punitive bill. It essentially sent the message to the world that America was not open to immigrants. We need a different message, and this is a message that we need to get out today from San Francisco. Fast forward to 2010. I was proud at that time to ask Mayor Gavin Newsom to spend a couple $100,000 to make sure that we counted all members of our San Francisco community. And who did we ask to step up to make sure that that money was well spent? It was our then city administrator, now Mayor Ed Lee. It was Adrian Pon. It was many of the folks behind us who made sure that we were counting everyone who was a resident regardless of their citizenship. Today, we're talking about taking that next step. It's such a wonderful moment to be part of, I think, the celebration of who we are as a city, to be able to say, now that we have gotten everyone here, we need to make sure that we get everyone through the immigration process so that they don't have to ever fear that they're not part of our body fabric, our city fabric, who we are as Americans. And so I'm delighted to be part of this conversation, and I'm delighted to represent a Board of Supervisors that has stood repeatedly for the idea that regardless of your citizenship, you deserve a spot in San Francisco. I serve on a board where over half of us are the sons and daughters, the grandsons and granddaughters of immigrants. We have immigrants on our Board of Supervisors. And the last thing I'll just mention is, regardless of how long your family has been here, at some point in your lineage, you came to this country, you came to this state, you came to San Francisco, and part of what we're saying today is we all deserve to be here. We deserve to make San Francisco and America great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Supervisor. Many of you may not know that over 35% of San Francisco small businesses are owned by and operated by immigrants today. Our next speaker is a real role model for many of us. As CEO of the San Francisco Foundation, Dr. Sandra Hernandez is an advocate, a physician, a philanthropic leader, a role model, and definitely a groundbreaker. She's the former director of the San Francisco Department of Public Health and a nationally renowned expert on healthcare and nonprofit sustainability. Dr. Hernandez.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you, Adrian. I want to appreciate you, Mayor Lee, Supervisor Chiu, and really all of our philanthropic partners that are launching this extraordinary pathway to citizenship in San Francisco. The San Francisco Foundation for over 60 years has held very central to its core mission the notion that we need to engage every citizen, every resident in order to make our democracy better. And all of the philanthropic organizations that are part of this pathway initiative likewise believe that our democracy is better when everybody is included in it. The San Francisco Foundation is proud to be a leader and investor in this necessary work, bringing together the deep commitment of all of our immigrant communities, their partners, to assure economic mobility, education, healthcare access, and of course that they are civically engaged. As the mayor and Supervisor Chiu said, we are a nation and a city of immigrants. We are a testament to America's spirit of risk and its spirit of innovation. In the heart of every immigrant is a risk taker, a bold and courageous person who's risked everything to make a better life for themselves, but also to make a better life for all of their neighbors and communities in which they live. Like Mayor Lee and the supervisor, I'm a proud daughter of American immigrants. They came to this country with odds stacked against them to build a better future for my siblings and my cousins. My father served in the Army, but more important to him was that he served at every polling station in every election from the time he was legally able to do so. And at breakfast before every election was a very, very, very engaged, vivid, enlightened conversation about how my mother should vote, even though she didn't always agree with him, and that really it was our responsibility to comment on the things that Mayor Lee referenced. What kind of health care should we have? What should be the caliber of our schools? What kind of open space should we have? How should we use land? These are all very critical parts of our democracy and our voice. And I'm very, very proud on behalf of the San Francisco Foundation to partner with the city, Adrian and her staff, our philanthropic partners, but most of all, to partner with the nonprofit organizations who on the ground will be working to find ways to reach the 100,000 folks living in this city today who have not yet found their pathway to citizenship. We believe it's a fundamental part of our city life to do so, and the San Francisco Foundation is extremely proud to have partnered with this group to bring it together. We look forward to 3 years of learning and to reaching as many of these folks as we can, to have them become citizens, and to come to Health Commission meetings and tell the Director of Health and all of our other commissioners what it is they would like to see their city be. Thank you very much on behalf of the San Francisco Foundation.
Thank you, Dr. Hernandez. A vital aspect of the San Francisco Pathways to Citizenship Initiative is civic engagement. This component is not just another hurdle potential citizens must pass to complete a naturalization exam, but an opportunity to instill lifelong active engagement among our new naturalized citizens and to encourage meaningful participation to contribute to San Francisco's overall success and prosperity. 7 local community-based organizations with decades of expertise were selected for the pilot year of this initiative, but the outreach will extend to the many diverse immigrant communities that make up the San Francisco population and family. Together, these partners will inform, educate, provide language services, counseling, legal assistance, and many other services to residents who may be eligible for citizenship. Our next speaker is a very special person. It's rare to find a leader as universally beloved and valued as Annie Chung, President and CEO of Self-Help for the Elderly. Self-Help is the lead agency for the Citizenship Initiative. Annie is a model of integrity, compassion, and highly effective leadership. Her tireless advocacy for the underserved, combined with her international savvy and connections, and her ability to bridge differences and create models of mutual respect are phenomenal. Many of us are fortunate to call her our sister, our friend, and our inspiration, Annie Chung.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Annie Chung. The San Francisco Pathway to Citizenship Initiative is a dream becoming a reality for many of us in the community who have been working closely with both the city through Adrian and the Office of Civic Engagement and Immigrant Affairs, the 5 foundations, and GISA. They are providing the much-needed funding for this initiative. There is a national effort called the New Americans Campaign, which is working on naturalization in multiple cities in the country. And the 7 CBOs who make up the San Francisco Collaborative are truly grateful now that San Francisco is part of this Americans campaign. Melissa Rogers from the Immigrant Legal Resource Center, who heads up that campaign, is here today. I want to quickly introduce her. And ILRC is providing technical assistance to our collaborative. Thank you. Besides Self-Help for the Elderly, there are 6 other community-based organizations and their representatives whom I'd like to introduce to you now. If I call your name, would you step up and stand beside me? Because we're not doing this alone. We're doing everything together. So from the Advancing Justice Asian Law Caucus, Executive Director Hin Jun Ro. From the Asian Pacific Islander Legal Outreach, the Executive Director Dean Ito Taylor. Program Director from the Catholic Charities CYO, Christopher Martinez. Amy Wang, attorney from the International Institute of the Bay Area. Cheryl Majid, administrator from the Jewish Family and Children Services. And Melba Maldonado, executive director from La Raza Community Resource Center. Together, all the partners have invited over 30 of our clients to join us to celebrate today, and they're standing in the mayor's office right now. So happy that they're part of this celebration. I think together we represent the diversity of San Francisco and many of the ethnic communities that so desperately need naturalization services, from legal consultation to completion of the 10-page N400 forms to the fee waiver forms to help them get a waiver for the $680 application fee to become citizen. Together, our collaborative cover all of the major languages spoken by our clients: Chinese, Spanish, Vietnamese, Russian, other Eastern European languages, Burmese, Tagalog, and others. We urge all eligible permanent residents to attend our upcoming group naturalization workshop on August the 10th, 2013, to take advantage of the naturalization services which will be offered that day at number 1 South Van Ness. No appointments needed and free of charge. On behalf of all of our collaborative partners and our clients, I want to thank Mayor Lee, President Chiu, Dr. Hernandez, and all of our philanthropic funders. Thank you so much for your generous support and your continuous support so that our San Francisco pathway to citizenship will be a great success. We will give you our 200% efforts. Thank you very much.
You know, there's nothing more exciting and challenging as going through the process of naturalization in the United States. We're now going to hear from 3 individuals who are sharing their first-person stories, and they've been very courageous and open about sharing these stories with us. First, we will hear from Claudia Rodriguez, and then Mrs. Su Fang Gao, and then Mr. Gregory Takhuns. Please come up, Ms. Rodriguez.
Good morning, everybody. So I'm Claudia Rodriguez. I got my citizenship through Catholic Charities CYO, and I am happy to say that now my voice now counts. Now I can vote. Now I got all my rights that was taken away. I have them now with me, and I just want to thank Catholic Charities to help people like me, and I guess all the people who work for the community. So thank you very much.
市长、市员，早上好。
I'm Warren, Mayor and Supervisor.
我是苏放高，我今年79岁了。我读入籍和英语已经有2年多了。
Hi, my name is Su Fang Gao, and I'm 79 years old, and I have been studying for the citizenship more than 2 years.
感谢安劳事务处和其他的机构帮助我，让我有机会去考美国公民。
And because of self-help for the elderly and other agencies provide the legal service, that I can start the citizenship.
6月29号，美非有律师帮我填表，帮我们的考试，谢谢他们，使我们有信心去考试了。
Yeah, I had attended June 29th workshop, and they provide the free service to me and fill out the free waiver form and also the application form. Now I feel more comfortable to apply for the citizenship exam.
希望有更多的这样服务和我们更多人受益。
I hope there will be more service like this and can benefit our community.
Thank you, Annie.
Добрый день всем.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Я Григорий Тахунц.
I'm Grigori Tahuns.
Мне 78 лет.
I am 78 years old.
Я приехал из Армении.
I came from Armenia.
Стал гражданином в апреле 2013 года.
I became a citizen in April this year.
С того момента я горжусь этим.
I am very proud of this.
Прежде чем стать гражданином, я очень тщательно готовился. Во-первых, чтобы расслабиться, потому что это очень важный момент в моей жизни.
To prepare for citizenship takes, of course, a lot of work. You really need to relax through that process because it is, of course, very stressful.
В этом мне помог больше всех Jewish Family Children Service.
And I'll say that who helped me the most through this process was Jewish Family and Children's Services.
За 3 месяца до интервью на гражданство я пришел в эту организацию, где преподавателем находится Мелисса. Она очень хорошо подготовила нас. Да.
For a few months before my citizenship interview, I took classes with Jewish Family and Children's Services through the instructor, which is me, and and I'm very grateful.
Спасибо всем.
Thank you, everybody.
Я буду с честью нести это гражданство Америки, чтобы не подвести его политической жизни.
Yeah, I'm very proud to be here, and I'm happy to have left Armenia so that I can take advantage of being an American citizen.
Спасибо.
You know, something magical happens here in San Francisco under Mayor Lee's leadership. And before he begins the question and answer session, we have a few thank yous that we would like to make to our community and philanthropic partners for helping to make this initiative and this launch possible. We'd also like to recognize Tessa Rivero Callejo, Co Kravitz, who's a wizard with the pen of the San Francisco Foundation, Richard Whipple of the Office of Civic Engagement and Immigrant Affairs, Camelia Rodriguez-Sackburn of Grantmakers Concerned with Immigrants and Refugees, and as always, the excellent team from SF Gov TV and Mayor Lee's communications team. Thank you very much. The mayor will now take a few questions.
I don't have boundless energy, so I gotta go with. Any questions about our initiative here?
Can you say anything personally, Mr. Mayor, about what this means to you?
Well, in many ways, certainly for my life, having been the son of immigrant parents, I knew that they were very focused on being citizens because they wanted to get fear out of the way when they were adjusting. And to me, I think that's been the story of so many of my clients when I was an attorney at the Asian Law Caucus for a number of years, that as I serviced seniors and people living in low-income housing, oftentimes they wouldn't even want to use the legal process because of their fears. They didn't know what would be behind each door, and even speaking to an attorney sometimes was difficult for them, especially when I was trying to educate residents at Pingyun about what is a warranty of habitability, something that we're becoming more and more familiar with. But you know, I think that's why I think going through a citizenship process, gaining the confidence that the individuals who've just spoken, and feeling that you're as an American as anybody else, offers you the ability to say, hey, I got an opinion too. I want better schools. I want to do all these other things. I want to be a part of that decision making, not be a recipient or a victim of someone else's decision. And that's the key, I think, to this initiative. We always felt that we didn't do enough just by doing the census count. And in this city, I think we want that full participation. We want it so badly that even David Chiu and all of us are saying, let's give people a vote who are not necessarily citizens to the education system, because we need that input. We don't want parents disengaged in what's going on with their kids. Education is so important to everybody and so much a part of the future. But there are a lot of things that we want to do, but I think the path to citizenship and what we've outlined here, particularly with the funding agencies have so much experience in dealing with refugee and immigrant families. to have the nonprofits on the ground to do this work with us in collaboration, I think it's going to be, you'll see in a very short time period, you're going to see a lot more levels of confidence happen. And I suggest to you, it isn't just the individuals that will improve their confidence. When they live in their communities, they get to be part of their neighborhood associations. They get to be part of more NERT. They get to be part of resident improvement associations. They get to tell us where our planting grants get to go to, what kind of flowers they want planted. Don't want a tree in front of their house? Okay, put it on the side. I mean, all of this comes with, I think, full participation. And get the fear out of the way, get full engagement in. That's why we created the Office of Civic Engagement, to get everybody the power of being in the city, that we welcome them in to participate.
Mr. Mayor, what if we don't have an immigration reform?
Well, we don't have it today, and that's not stopping us. That's why we went ahead and made this announcement, because we want to give people across the country, and hopefully some congressional representatives that are not maybe in the state of California but in other states, a vision for what people really want. They want to be participants. They don't want to live in the shadows. And there's many parts of the immigration reform that we have to pay attention to. I happen to believe very strongly, and I think everybody in this room does, we can't lose family unification as part of it. We have to have a path for people who have been here, maybe on paper, not legally, but they're Americans like everybody else. Just as on paper, they weren't. And we got to get them fully participating, not subject to some immigration judge's decision that because their paperwork of their parents weren't right, that they have to be ousted from this country. You know, I think there are so many parts of immigration that must be had, and that's why we're advocating. And I am together with literally every elected leader in this city. But San Francisco is special, and we know we're not the only voice in the country. So we have to talk to other mayors in Iowa, in Indiana, in Alabama, and in Florida, saying that there is a lot for immigrants to contribute to this country. We also have to have the talent come here as well. A lot of our technology companies are reaching out to talent across the world, and they need that talent to stay here to build the companies so that more jobs can get created. That's part of the immigration bill, along with family, along with pathways to citizenship for those that are technically not legally here. Yes.
How will you spend the $1.2 million on this 3-year program?
Thank you. That's over a 3-year period, and half of that money is coming from the foundations that are participating. That's why we wanted to officially thank them. The other half will come from the City General Fund through the Office of Civic Engagement and Immigrant Affairs that Adrian has, and she will be working with all the nonprofits to fund them appropriately for the activities that will get people the training, the orientation, the classes, but also the outreach, building their confidence that they should go through the citizenship process.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.